Three, two, one, let's go! What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Bryan Bottoms is in the Icon booth and behind the microphones of the Permian Basin Experience podcast.
I'm very happy
we are
to be
about
here.
to break down the Anadarko Basin. We're about to correlate it back to the Permian Basin if we can, and we're about to just look at things on a more regional scale.
Trying to correlate these unconventional reservoirs from the Anadarko to the Permian and back. What ideas are working? What ideas are not working?
Yeah.
Let's dive into it, man.
Because Tapstone is drilling some of the best wells in the Anadarko Basin. So you are valid. You are here. You're drilling some of the best wells in the Anadarko. So let's hear it, man. Let's look at the strat. Let's first, how did you get involved in the industry? Dude, you're a young professional. You're full of energy. It's crazy. I can barely keep up with you right now.
So I graduated from University of Arkansas. Arkansas is a great place to study rocks. We have the Fayetteville Shale there in town, chock full of fossils. You can find nautiloids and all
What's the
kinds
age of the Fayetteville Shale?
It's a Chesterian shale.
So it's some kind of Pennsylvanian? Where are we at with Chesterian?
In Mississippian, Upper Mississippian.
Upper Mississippian Shale.
Yep.
Interesting. While we're in the Permian Basin depositing this big, nasty limestone dolomite thing across the Mississippian, you're in Arkansas with a black shale filled with what kind of critters?
Yeah, we got all kinds of.
What's it dominant of? A bunch of.
The biggest cool thing is the nautiloids. There's some huge ones up to 8 feet long or so.
8 foot nautiloids.
Yeah.
Dude,
and you can just go up to outcrop and just throw this in the back of the trunk and just drive away, or
it's not that easy. As one of the professors put it well, you gotta go out there frequently. You got to be walking the creeks all the time, especially after rainstorms, stuff like that.
You got to be a geologist. You got to be a geologist. So, dude, you get your master's degree.
Well, I got my bachelor's first. I started working for Chesapeake after that as a mud logger. So they had a program going on back then. Field geologist development program. So you start as a mud logger.
So an in-house mud logger.
Yeah.
Wow. I dig that.
And you were drilling in which basin?
Miss Lime is mainly what I mud logged in. So
in the Anadarko Basin.
Anadarko Shelf kind of area.
Chesapeake.
Yep.
Did you ever meet Aubrey McClendon?
I never did. No.
Did you ever see him?
Never did. I was on a rig, not in the office. So.
I heard amazing things about him, man. There was something about his charisma. People say when you talk to people that really knew him, they say it was like when he was in the room, you felt like number one. Isn't that a very interesting thing to hear from somebody else? The guy that's in the room that's running, the number one, had an ability, like an intuitive ability is how it was really put to me with people that knew him personally. They said, yeah, he made you feel like you were number one.
Yeah.
What an incredible manager, man.
Yeah, just being able to connect.
So, Chesapeake, you're mud logging for Chesapeake.
Yeah, moved on to MWD, so started doing that.
One quick question: what year was this when you got into Chesapeake?
This would have been the beginning of 2013, so January 2013.
Okay.
So you rode the roller coaster at the top.
We're talking $120 oil.
Yeah.
So
times
you're
were
just
good.
chugging.
They were
Dude, you were driving
everyone.
around a Lamborghini.
I was
know
not.
you were.
I still have my same car from high school.
That's a smart decision.
$120 oil. You're mud logging for Chesapeake in the Anadarko Basin, and you're looking at this limestone. But what you were doing was actually at the front lines of the drill bit, and you were looking at what this limestone was doing as you were going horizontally across that timeline. It's really old. During the time of deposition is always what our pressure is as geoscientists. What is it during the time of deposition? It's a limestone, right? That's what it was. Shoreline somewhere. We're trying to figure that out. What's happening after deposition is a really interesting concept too.
Definitely.
So something that we need to educate people on, and I'm hoping to get from your show. So as the Mississippi lime is depositing in the Anadarko Basin, and this Mississippi lime goes across the entire Anadarko Basin?
Yeah. I mean, the Miss Lime is whatever you want to call it. There's various subcrops that have been exploited, various triplytic chert trends that have been exploited.
What's up with the triplytic chert, dude?
Man, that's up for debate as well. How did it get there? Is it sponge
It's 2019, man. It's not up for debate. We have answers in 2019.
Is it sponge spicules? Is it later chert replacement? I think there's combinations of both.
How do you differentiate the two? You have to look at the cuttings. You have to look at the rock. You certainly have to look at the rock.
Looking at it, when you see the triplytic chert, it looks like like you're looking at bread. I mean, it's very porous. Like
really,
that's
very
awesome.
very porous.
Sounds like a badass reservoir.
What's the
It
difference
is very
between
porous.
whenever I read a paper on the Anadarko Basin, I'm always lost because I always see the term chat.
The chat,
the
yeah.
Mississippi chat.
It's got the chat in it.
There's a lot of nomenclature thrown around in regards to that. Now, is that relating to subaerial exposure at the unconformity as well? You know, providing
there's an unconformity at the top of this thing.
Oh yeah. The Mississippi unconformity. We're basically targeting right at the top of the Mississippi. That's the Miss Lime play.
Okay.
I guess in a nutshell.
The Woodford also has a big unconformity in it, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's sitting on top of the Hutton, right? Or above. Let me.
This track column doesn't show a squiggly line at the top of the Woodford, but there's certainly areas in the Anadarko Basin where there would be a squiggly line.
I've heard people from the Ardmore Geologic Society that would propose otherwise, that there's not an unconformity, but
really,
I think that probably varies.
So is it non-depositional? Why the thickness change so drastically in some area? Interesting concept. That's the Woodford.
Osage is a target going on today that people are exploiting. It's
a big
very
lime.
chert-rich lime, very hard to differentiate on a gamma ray log where you're at or what's that. It's limes don't show a lot of character, but it's very tough on drill bits. We DBR more bits in the Osage Church than probably any other formation in the world, I'd say.
No shit. Definitely open up the pocketbooks when it comes to drilling. So we understand that. Okay, man. So you're talking Mississippi lime, Anadarko Basin, and this thing goes across the entire basin, which means our assumption as geoscientists to geoscientists is that this Anadarko Basin must have had a really shallow, sloping shelf, or there's some kind of structural control to build lime across the entire basin. Because today, we have the bottom of the basin at like 40,000 feet, and then you have the shelf that's up, you can get Woodford at 5,000 feet. So obviously there had to have been a major shift after the time of deposition, because we have lime across the whole thing.
I don't know if it goes all the way deep into the basin like that. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the Anadarko Basin is very deep. It's the deepest intracratonic basin in the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like 40,000 feet or so.
Where's Lev? Lev would know.
So, yeah, I mean, people, there's definitely lime along the fringes of it.
It's interesting, man.
It's
interesting.
Kind of the shelf edge just over there.
Yeah.
So
either way, we have a big body of lime, and it's a target. And when we frack this thing, we drill into it, we have really economic wells, and we bring on a lot of hydrocarbon in the form of gas and oil, correct?
Yes.
And what kind of BOEs are we? Oh, yeah, you always got a water problem. That's what an old-timer said. Oh, we're just water guys with an oil problem. That's what he said. But really, I mean, we produce so much water. Yeah, and dude, the Anadarko Basin, we had worked assets up on the Cherokee platform. Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
The water problem, you're not kidding, dude. What is that?
I'm pretty sure we disposed a small ocean.
As did everybody.
The original Miss Lime play was, I don't know what the cut is. Maybe 98% water, right? Maybe even more than that. I don't know.
So you're just moving those kind of volumes.
Yeah.
So what kind of IPs do you get? What's Tapstone doing, man? 1,000 BOE a day?
Yeah, that'd be a good well.
Yeah. That's a hell of a well.
There are a number of wells in the scoop and stack that are higher than that. I'd say 1,000 BOE a day. That's good.
You're doing pretty good, dude.
Yeah.
So you can see this limestone. A lot of dolomite in it, or not much?
In the Miss Lime itself, I mean,
in these targets. When you drilled this badass well that did 1,000 barrels of oil equivalent a day, when you drilled that well and you looked at the cuttings and you were looking at all the logs and all the data you had as you were drilling this thing, was it mostly lime or was it dolomite in the system?
I wasn't seeing a lot of dolomite as far as as a mud logger in the Miss Lime play. It was mainly lime and chert. Those are your lithologies you're picking out.
Lime and chert. Which one's the reservoir, the lime or the chert?
It just depends. The triplytic chert is a high-class reservoir. It's something they were chasing around, and so
you try to find these overpressured zones, land a lateral in it, and go.
I'm not even sure if it was. I don't think it was overpressured at that time. It was just
didn't need to be
moving a lot of fluid. That's
yeah. So do you land these things open hole? You put much stimulation on it? I mean, with that kind of porosity and permeability in that triplytic chert, it sounds like it might.
Yeah, that's not a play that's still going on. So the Mississippi Lime play has, just the current Osage Merrimack play has shifted way further deeper into the basin.
Because they're looking for the pressure.
Yeah, certainly. And an interesting thing also going on in the Mid-Con, so there's the Anadarko Basin is one basin in Oklahoma, but we also have the Arkoma and the Ardmore Basin and the Marietta Basin. So TVD is not everything. So there's a company, I won't name names, I guess, but that are drilling wells deep in the Marietta Basin, targeting the Woodford at like 17,000 foot TVD and getting oily results.
What? Ladies and gentlemen, the Woodford in Oklahoma is producing a lot of oil at 17,000 feet TVD.
Yeah,
There's an operator. Somebody knows who this is, by the way. I don't, but I just heard the story. There's an operator in Oklahoma drilling 17,000 foot TVD Woodford wells, and it's oily.
It's happening, man. So we start talking about basement heat flow and maybe
basement heat flow. No, we can't even go down that rabbit hole, dude.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me some logical explanation right now that's going to tell me why the Woodford is producing a ton of oil at 17,000 feet. I'm out on that one, man. Let's get back to the lime.
Sorry.
Let's get back to the limestone. That was a fascinating fact, man. So you know a lot about this thing, dude. So as a geoscientist for Tapstone, you're using all the data you possibly can at a reasonable value, because it's always about money in the geology business, which pisses me off as a geoscientist, because it's like, we're on the front lines of the brand new data. We're the only ones tracking and mapping what's happening as soon as possible. As soon as the state releases it, we map it. Like, we should be spending good money on that, right? But we get beat up on costs. We get beat up by the CFOs.
and you're scrapping at anything that you can
you're
get.
scratching
Any kind
at
of
everything.
data. At least give me my cuttings. Just give me my cuttings. But at the end of the
always collect the cuttings.
Always collect the cuttings. Never
We've
let the
got
cuttings go.
Shelves of cuttings.
Dude, we should do a science experiment together, man. PBE Podcast and Tapstone Energy combine. Let's do a science experiment. You down?
I can't approve that. So
they might be up for it. They might be up for it.
We'll talk to your management.
If we find a hidden secret, we won't do anything with it. We won't tell the world.
all right.
But if you guys are down, we're down.
All right.
To share it. All right, dude. So you're working the limestone in Anadarko Basin.
A lot of the plays that are focused in the Anadarko Basin currently, you've got the Merrimack, which is more of a silty carbonate. People are targeting the fine grain silts.
So similar to the muds.
Yeah.
Similar to the black muds.
So it's not a true unconventional play, right? And that's the
It's
thing.
interesting. It's kind of a conventional, unconventional.
Right,
Yeah.
we call them hybrids,
Hybrid
right?
plays, yeah. It's similar to the Bone Springs, similar to the Avalon, similar to certain sections of Wolf Camp. It's
really interesting.
I always see a lot of overlap between the Permian plays and then the plays going on currently in the Anadarko with just these mixed siliciclastic and carbonate systems. But I mean, you still got the source rock plays going on. You've got the Woodford still happening in the Anadarko and in the Arkoma.
Yeah.
People still targeting other organic rich shales with the Springer, the Caney, which is the Fayetteville equivalent, also getting some testing. So
let's look at your Oklahoma strat column on the right. Point out to me where you have the biggest formations of shale, organic rich black muds in that strat column.
Yeah, so the Woodford Shale, obviously everybody knows about that one. The Springer is a sandstone that was targeted for a long time, but it also has some pockets of really organic rich shale.
How thick?
I don't know. It's not in my area. I haven't mapped it, but it's thick enough to support horizontals, and they're drilling them. Yeah, as a separate bench, all on its own.
And that's been right below an unconformity. That's right below a major mystery in our strat column. Do you think that's mostly non-depositional, or do you think that's erosion?
It depends on what strat column you're looking at here. The Springer is always subject to debate. Does it get thrown into the Atokan or into the Pennsylvanian? Or does it get thrown into the Miss? Is it areas where maybe it spans it? I don't know. It gets. Well, I do know that the sands make prolific gas wells, and then some of the
that's interesting.
The shales also are targeted now. Some other. You've got the Caney, which is not on here, but it would be a Chesterian shale. That's the
Also
Fayetteville equivalent.
It's the Fayetteville shale equivalent.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yep.
Okay. So what about above that in the Pennsylvania or do we dare say Permian age Anadarko rock?
Yeah, I don't know of anybody targeting Permian age Anadarko rock, but I believe those were some prolific reservoirs in the early days.
Yeah, the super shallow stuff.
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Funny names
Dude,
too.
Those are some historic fields. I mean, those wells are still pumping 2 barrels a day, and it's been 70, 80 years later.
Paid themselves off in like 6 months, and 70 years later, still getting a check, dude. Is that not the end game?
Dude.
That is the end game for us, Brian Bottoms. That's it. We find wells that send oil to the tanks, that send checks to your mailbox.
Yep.
Right? Because of the knowledge and the grind that you put in with Chesapeake. So from Chesapeake, where'd you go from there real quick?
So I moved to MWD role, and then I went back to grad school basically when things started getting bad.
Okay.
Saw the writing on the wall.
2015. 2015, man. $27 oil.
Yeah.
Whew.
I was.
That's
I think
real.
we went from a number of rigs we had MWD on. I mean, upwards, well above 20, down to 3 at one point, and
dude, that was so gnarly, man. That time was really, really crazy because it was $120 oil, man. No one thought that it was going to go to 27. All right, mate, 90, 80, 70, right? When you look at strip pricing, the New York Wall Street guys are always like, there's a high and a low. Here's the futuristic pricing.
Let me tell you my futuristic chart. That's going to be wrong in 2 weeks.
It's always on some weird collar, and you have some high and some low projection. Nobody really, obviously, it is what it is. The industry does it all the time, man. It goes up and down. And as young professionals, we survive, man. We push through. And now we are, dude, with modern concepts and modern geologic thoughts, and we're pushing the limits for our operator or for whoever we're working for and doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
So your experience going back to school after mud logging that's a very interesting perspective, man. What did you get your thesis in?
Yes, I did my thesis on, the title, I guess, would be a geochemical investigation and comparison between organic-rich black shales and Mississippi Valley-type lead-zinc deposits in the Ozark region.
What's the Ozark? That's the big uplift in the northeast corner of Oklahoma.
Northern Arkansas, most of Missouri, and then, northeast Oklahoma. Some very prolific lead-zinc mines came out of northeast Oklahoma, southwest Missouri, as well as northern Arkansas as well.
So what was behind the concept of looking at organic black shales and lead zinc deposits? We have a lot of that in the black shales. Is that true in the geochemistry world?
It's interesting because the lead zinc deposits themselves, they've been studied for a long time. Basically, the understanding is that the fluids that source these metals were just sedimentary brines coming out of the basin. And so
let's
think about the Washita orogeny just squishing everything, the squeegee theory of just fluids getting pushed forward and precipitating out on the shelves of these sedimentary basins.
So are you able to correlate? Well, I know where you're going to head with this, but I want to say this. Are you able to correlate those lead zinc deposits into the basin? So into those shales, are you able to see, hey, we have these enrichment in zinc, XYZ here, we have this enrichment in zinc on the Ozark uplift?
I think that was kind of the goal of my thesis, but it's still, we tried. Well, we were trying to use lead isotopes, radiogenic isotopes, to study this exact concept, trying to use lead isotopes as a tracer to say, hey, man, these isotopic signatures match those of the lead zinc ores. They have a very unique signature in the lead zinc ores. They're very enriched in radiogenic lead. And so that means it came from the decay of radioactive minerals, which the things that decay into lead are uranium and thorium. And so,
which we find a shit ton in the black shales.
A ton of. And people don't realize that, too. They think, we have this bed of...
Interesting.
It's like illite and like these like really fun little accessory minerals. But it's like, no, we got some heavies in here.
Oh, some strange-ass elements are in these systems, dude, as you know.
Yeah.
All right, so I always think of isotope date, all that shit. I'm like, all right, this is, people chasing down, like, what was happening during the time, right? Oxygen levels and other stuff. But you can obviously see, what would you call that? Diagenetic alteration? This change in the elements through time. You're saying it's going from uranium to thorium to lead zinc. right? That's the isotopic signature saying that that transitions happened more here than over here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you are these are decaying into that. That's happening through time, right?
Right. But sometimes faster, slower, different with your data sets. Did you notice anything like that?
I mean, we're lead isotopes as a tracer. They don't fractionate very easily, so you could use them if you see the same signature in one rock. You could claim that, okay, this matches the signature of this other area if it were to match, you know. And so you're trying to kind of fingerprint that, find that fingerprint match. And so no one's, I guess, where the subject up for debate on the lead zinc stuff is where did the metal come from?
Where did the metal come from?
Yeah, when you start doing some provenance stuff, things get weird.
Let's talk about it. Where did all the shale come from in the Woodford in the Anadarko Basin?
I mean,
which direction? All right, that's not your reservoir. That's not fair. That's not fair.
That's not fair.
It builds itself, right? The right environment with the right sunlight and the right nutrients. You get a carbonate platform and carbonate factory thriving, and it's building itself there. Everything else outside of that carbonate is coming from somewhere. Source of sediment is a very interesting problem that we have in every basin that we study, even offshore. Even studying the sea floor, you're like, holy shit, I had no idea that much sediment was gonna come from that way.
Yeah.
It's really weird how things erode. So let's just go with your limestone in the Mississippian and your target reservoir. It's bound by something that's siliciclastic, right?
Yeah.
You choose. Above the lime or below the lime, you choose. Which direction did that come from?
So this leads into another debate going on currently.
Should we put up an Anadarko Basin picture real quick? Pete out. Anadarko Basin.
Pete
Let's
out.
get an image.
Pete.
Anadarko Basin. Load it up.
No.
Skippo, get him.
Come on, Pete out.
Get him.
Get the people the answer,
Source
Pete
of
out.
sediment, man. Everybody, we always talk about it.
I think most of the limes are being shed off the shelf to the north, but what's interesting is one of the questions coming up still is where is the source of the silt in the Merrimack Play?
Yeah.
And a lot of people propose that it is Aeolian in origin.
Oh, it came out of the air.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that's a really controllable thing to use as a geoscientist.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, there's sand there. And they're like, where'd it come from? The air.
Yeah.
It was just floating around, and it stopped here, and it just settled here.
I can't do it, dude. That's too good. Yeah. That's too good,
well,
man.
I mean, how do you get this silt bypassing the carbonate bank and
we call it bypass, right?
So, I mean, there was some stuff over at ACE where we were like, wait, so you're telling me there's this transgressive systems tract, right?
Yep.
So now all of a sudden we have a sea level rise, we're backstepping, but for some reason in the basin we're prograding with these shales.
Let's blow the whole screen up with that, P. We are looking at the state of Oklahoma for everybody in the audience or anybody that's paying attention. If you have acreage or you're operating wells or maybe you have even done work in this basin before, we're talking about the Anadarko Basin with Bryan Bottoms, who's drilling some of the best Mississippi lime horizontal wells in the basin.
I wouldn't call it, Mississippi lime anymore. That play is, this is the Mississippi lime play. Here's the scoop and stack play.
Scoop stack, I'm sorry.
Scoop going down.
So stack, are you calling it the stack play? You're drilling some of the
where
best?
I would say we were operating. We operate about right here.
And so during the time of deposition, you're saying most of the silts that come into the system that we see are Aeolian. So it's very
sporadic. That's one of the theories being proposed.
Because we don't see any fluvial system coming down from the shelf, right? You can't see channels or something that brought in that silt. We don't see that in the geophysics data, right? When you have 3D, you think if there's sand and silt, where's the channels? Where's that coming from? And if you don't see it, you got to think, all right, it's dropping out from the air. It's dropping out.
Yeah, there's a lot of people studying that more in depth than I am at the moment. As far as
how much kerogen inside the system? Have you done a lot of kerogen work?
So that was I think up for debate early on. Is it the Merrimack and stuff self-sourcing like the Woodford or anything like that? But I think the prevailing theory now is maybe slightly, but not so much. It's more of a migrated oil.
It's a migrated oil system, dude. If you're ever in Midland, Texas, and we can actually like take time and build an outline and build the presentations with some good slides.
Yeah.
And just talk about this, dude. Bryan Bottoms, man.
I would love to talk about Southern Oklahoma Lockogen,
dude,
basement heat flow anomalies.
You're talking similar deal between the Arkoma Basin, the Anadarko Basin, with the Nemaha uplift in the middle, kind of like the.
It somewhat looks similar to the setup there. It's
in the Midland and Delaware.
Yeah.
So all right. We got to dive into.
I mean, they've both been. That's another rabbit hole. I think we'll save the structural geology because now I'm in.
Oh,
now I'm in.
I do want to say, if you guys like the lead zinc stuff, I have a paper in this month's AAPG bulletin regarding that. So some lead isotope data on both Fayetteville and the Woodford. So
interesting, man. I'm certainly interested in the data, and then I'm more interested in listening to what your interpretation of the data is, and then maybe we can share some ideas. I mean, that's what we do as geoscientists, right?
Yep.
We're all coming from different aspects, different angles, and we're trying to get better, man. That's it. As a young professional, I think you share the same enthusiasm for our future. And our future as young geoscientists is that if we are only getting 5 to 10% of recovery factor out of these wells, out of what we do, then that to me tells me there's 90% of growth to be had.
That's a topic we never got to, but just people, the Penn Sands being redeveloped, other targets being redeveloped in the Anadarko Basin, and it seems to be a good correlation. You've got a low GOR, and people are drilling right between those prolific producers. And
let's go.
And
some sweet spots you know about. All right, we might talk about some of those details offline because I want to invest. I'm just kidding, man. All right, Bryan. Hey, dude, thanks so much for doing the show, dude. It was
thanks
great.
for having me, guys.
That was awesome, man.
It was a pleasure, man.
It was awesome.